Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience. Um, I know we're a little bit late, but we had to deal with some very important matters in private sessions. So, welcome and welcome each and every one, the public, back to our board meeting. So, we're going to get started right away. So, I'm going to call this meeting to order this time. So, we are gonna ask our staff to able to play our land acknowledgement and our national anthem.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships, which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
and continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
Thank you. Just before we approve our agenda tonight, I want to take the time to welcome our communication lead that is here tonight, Michelle Green, who will be working closely with our trustees and our staff to take care of our comms department. So can we just welcome Michelle this afternoon? Thank you. And just to say to staff, thank you. Thank you for over the last few months, for your patience, your dedication, your support. As we went through, I will use the word transition time here at our board meeting. You have been faithful, you have been dedicated, and you are committed. And even in spite of all we have been through, you stay true to the work and your calling, and that's supporting our students, ensuring that our students are provided the support and the tools that they need so that they can be successful. So I want to thank you, and thank you for your great turnout this afternoon. They said, yes, we're back. Thank you. With that said, I'm going to move down to item number 4. I'm going to ask for approval of the agenda tonight. I'm going to go to Trustee B. McDonald, Trustee Lucas Hobbs on my left. Any questions and concerns? I have no additions. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. Any declaration of conflict of interest? Looking around, I'm seeing none. All right, we're moving. So I'm going to move right down to Item 6 on the agenda tonight, and we're celebrating our numbers of board activities over the next few weeks. We're looking at Autism Awareness Month, Arab Heritage Month, Sikh Heritage Month, Genocide Awareness Education, World Autism Awareness Day, which is April 2nd, International Day of Pink, April 10th, Earth Day, April 22nd, Administrative Professional Day, April 24th, National Day of Mourning, April 28th. And those are our board celebration over the next few weeks. And I'm going to ask Trustee Cameron and Trustee Jill Pernelli to put them on the floor for me. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And we're going to move down to our staff recognition, which is item 7, and move to 7.1, which is our staff retirements. And I'll turn over to Vice Chair at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Agreeing through you. We are reporting a total of 46 retirements today. That includes 2 principals, 35 teachers, 2 educational assistants, 1 facility manager, 2 head custodians, 1 office attendant, and 1 school attendant. Names and title of the retiring staff are displayed on the screen here. We thank all the retirees for their service and dedication to the Peel District School Board. It is through the collective hard work and efforts of our staff that makes a positive difference in the lives of our students, their families, and the community. Your commitment to help each student achieve to the best of the ability is appreciated. We wish you the very best for a healthy and happy retirement. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Chahal. I'm going to ask Trustee Bailey and Trustee Davies to move those for me. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. So we're going to move down to the chair's announcement. And tonight, under the chair announcement, I think I want to highlight 2 2 individuals that I think is remarkable, that when our staff and our student are doing amazing stuff or being recognized outside of the board, it's very important that we as trustees and as a board that we recognize them. So this afternoon, the first person we're going to recognize is one of our manager here, Mr. Lyndon King. Mr. Lyndon King, as you can see, he is a manager down in the LTSS department, and he's an amazing person to work with. And just received, I think this is the second highest award for anybody to receive in Canada, has received the Good Citizenship Award that was awarded to him just recently. And tonight, I want to take the time to congratulate him on behalf of the board and to say, job well done. I personally know Lyndon for many, many years and know his work in the community. It goes beyond just what he does for us as a school board, but he's somebody that makes sure that he's in his community doing all the great things, building relationship and taking care of our community. So again, on behalf of the entire board, can we just give Lyndon a big congratulations, please? And hopefully, as we move forward, we can always highlight our staff and our students for great things. And secondly, we're going to highlight one of our students. I personally had the pleasure of meeting this young man at a graduation some time ago, and that's Christopher. And Christopher is, as you can see, he has some physical challenges, but he does not make that stop him. It does not prevent him from doing what he wants to do. And as you can see here, he's been selected to various different basketball team, sports team, even though he has his physical challenge. And now he took part and got selected to play in the Canadian Olympics, doing what he likes to do best. And tonight, he was at Laurenville Public School. When I gave my graduation speech, that's where I first met him. And now he's at Gene Augustine. And even though he has these challenges, it's not stopping him. And he's blazing the trail. And therefore, tonight, we want to congratulate him and say, you go, Chris, you go and keep going and keep dreaming big. You are doing amazing work, and you're making us, not only you're making your family proud, you're making our school board proud. So I'm going to ask again my trustees, can we just give him a round of applause and congratulate him tonight? And I know his family is watching tonight, so just want to say to his family, his mom, his dad, you have raised an amazing son. And as a board, we are just here. Anything that we can do to support, just call and we'll be here. So thank you very much. Thank you for that this afternoon. Thank you. Can I ask then Trustee Davis and Trustee Promoli to move these two announcements for me, please? All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And I'm going to move down to the director's report at this time, and I'm going to turn it over to Director Saru.
Thank you, Chair Green. Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to bring a report update on the Student Achievement Plan. Peel District School Board is dedicated to fostering an inclusive, equitable, and safe environment where every student thrives, excels, and reaches their full potential. The Better Schools and Student Outcomes Act 2023, which received royal assent on June 8, 2023, is intended to enhance student achievement and transparency in education. The Ministry of Education has taken proactive measures to make changes aimed at fostering student success by prescribing priorities that focus on student achievement. As such, the ministry introduced the Student Achievement Plan to replace the previous Board Improvement Plan. This plan has three priority areas: achievement of learning outcomes in core academic skills, preparation of students for future success, and student engagement and well-being. The Peel District School Board adheres to these priorities. As such, and in response to the Student Achievement Plan, Peel District School Board created and implemented a digitized school and system improvement and equity planning tool. This new digitized tool is unique to Peel District School Board and has made a significant impact on school improvement planning efforts. I'd like to share with you some of the unique features of this digitized tool, its impact, and how it will support us in reporting back to the ministry. This tool contains specific qualitative and quantitative data set to support each school in goal-setting efforts. It serves as a central hub for resources and professional learning in relation to goal acquisition. It also offers schools measurable actions to ensure that improvement goals are being met. It is important to highlight here that Peel District School Board's intentional actions to redress disproportionate outcomes for students historically and currently marginalized, specifically Black, Indigenous, racialized, and students with exceptionalities are embedded throughout the school improvement and equity planning process. As a result of the intentionality of this tool, the feedback from schools has been overwhelmingly positive. We are proud to share that all 259 schools in Peel District School Board have two school improvement goals. The first being a focus on developing students' sense of belonging. Included in this goal are school actions taken towards addressing student safety and mental health. The second goal focuses on curriculum and achievement in language and mathematics. We maintain our focus on student learning through the school improvement process. Schools are provided with both a math and a language achievement action plan to assist them in achieving their goals. These plans contain specific and intentional strategies that support curriculum implementation, instructional practices, and understanding of learners, the 3 priority areas outlined by the ministry in the Student Achievement Plan. When grade 3 and grade 6 students were surveyed in January, they responded that the new math strategies implemented in their classrooms were both interesting and helpful for their learning in mathematics. Most students asked for more math work. To ensure accountability and transparency, school boards are mandated by the ministry to publicly post their student achievement plan by April 2nd, utilizing the reporting template provided by the ministry. Peel District School Board Student Achievement Plan will be posted on the public website by April 2nd. Peel District School Board's commitment to the Student Achievement Plan will continue to provide direction and enhance system priorities and ensure monitoring and accountability of school improvement and equity planning. From senior team members to administrators, educators, business, and support staff, everyone is dedicated to improving student achievement. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Saru. I'm going to ask Trustee Clark and Trustee Cameron to put this on the floor for me. Any question for the Director? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. We're going to move down to item 10, which is our student trustees report, and we have none tonight. And then I'm going to move down to item 11, which is a report from trustee appointed to external organization. And I believe Trustee Bailey just have a quick
Thank you, through you, Chair. We attended the OPSPA meeting, and the communication will be sent to your email. So please look out for that communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bailey. Yes, that was a couple weeks ago. We attended. I think Trustee Davies, myself, Trustee Bailey, and she will be doing the report. So she's saying that she will send that to us in an email. Can Trustee Halls and Trustee Cameron move that for me? Move receipt. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. Then we're going to move down to item 12, which is our approval for minutes of previous board meetings. And we have our minutes of our board meeting of February 28th. They're here. Trustee B. McDonald, Trustee Davies. Question or concerns? Okay, I'm seeing none. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. Going to move down to our consent agenda items from our various different committee meetings. The first one is 14.1, which is the minutes of our Special Ed Advisory Committee of January 30th. Trustee Clark and Line and Trustee Cole. Question, concern? See none. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And we're going to go down to 14.2, which is, again, the minutes from our February 27 meetings. They're here. And I'm going to go to the same two trustees, but I'm going to flip it this time. Trustee Cole, Trustee Clark. Question, concern? Yeah. All right, great. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And out of that, we also have a motion. Yeah. That the board approve the terms of reference for the Special Advisory Committee. So they're here for approval. I'm going to now turn to Trustee Cameron and Trustee Johal to approve those for me. And all those in favor? Carries. Thank you. Then we're going to go down to our policy and governance meeting of March the 6th. Trustee B. McDonald, Trustee House are putting them on the floor for me. Question, concerns? See none. All those in favor? Out of that, we also have a motion. And out of that, rising from that digital citizen and use of IT resource policy, and that the digital system and use of IT resource policy attached as Appendix 1 to the report be approved by this board. Again, Trustee B. McDonald. Question, concern? See none. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And then we are going to move to, there's also, there's three more, there's a total of four for approval. So we're going to move to the second one, which is the school council policy, and that the school council policy attached as Appendix A to this report be approved effective April 24th, 2024. And I'm going to go Trustee Bailey, Trustee Cameron. Question, concern? See none. All those in favor? Carried. We'll move to number 3. Director of Education Selection and Performance Appraisal. And that the Director Education Selection Policy Selection of Director of Education Procedure, Director of Education Performance Appraisal Policy, Director of Education Performance Appraisal Procedure attached as Appendix A, B, C, D to the report be approved. And Trustee Pominelli, Trustee Bailey, question, concerns? All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And the final one is that the Governance and Policy Committee terms of reference be approved and replaced with the Governance Directive Appendix 4. Trustee Johal, Trustee Alves, putting those on the floor for me. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. Great. So I'm going to move at this time to IC 15, and we're going to move to Minister Directive and Directive 22. I'm going to turn over to the director at this time to introduce one of our associate director who will speak to this.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Green, I will now ask Associate Director Harjeet Aujla to bring the report on Directive 22.
Thank you very much, Director Swaroop, and through you, Chair Green. This report provides a detailed update to the January 31st, 2024 report on the Peel District School Board's ongoing progress towards eliminating racial disparities in suspensions and expulsions. This report represents the third report as per the ministry's expectations via Directive 22, with the final report to be presented in May of 2024. I would like to take this opportunity now to introduce Superintendent of Safe and Caring Schools, Michelle Stubbings, who will present the third progress report on Directive 22, eliminating racial disparities in suspensions and expulsions.
Thank you, Associate Director Aujla, and through you, Chair Green. I would like to share a report that contains information pertaining to Directive 22, suspensions and expulsions. This report contains the most recent information about our progress towards eliminating racial disproportionalities in suspensions and expulsions. The data in this report updates disproportionalities as of February 29th, 2024. According to our data, the number of suspensions has increased and the number of expulsions is down by 2. There is a slight improvement in disparities. However, disparities for students who identify as African, Black, and Afro-Caribbean continue to exist in the Peel District School Board. Disproportionalities for Indigenous students have decreased from 2.3 times more likely to be suspended in June 2023 to 2.0 times as of February 2024. As a board, we remain deeply committed to addressing the disproportionalities facing African, Black, and Afro-Caribbean and Indigenous students based on suspension and expulsion data. It requires a multifaceted approach that involves acknowledging systemic issues, implementing evidence-based interventions, and redressing hurt and harm to foster identity-affirming learning environments. As a senior team, with the support of Family of School Superintendents, we are committed to continuing to conduct thorough analysis of suspension data to examine our practices, strategy, education, and trainings to decrease the disproportionate impact on African, Black, and Afro-Caribbean and Indigenous students. These analyses will include examining factors such as progressive discipline practices, authentic teacher-student relationships, homeschool partnerships, sense of belonging, and culturally relevant and responsive classroom practices. School superintendents, in collaboration with their principals, continue to interrogate the data and to put faces on the data. We closely monitor the work of Directive 21 and hold schools accountable to this important work. We will continue to involve key partners, including teachers, administrators, parents, students, community members, and relevant organizations to collaboratively and proactively identify areas for improvement and develop strategies to address the disparities. The Equity Accountability Report Card does indicate that change takes time to be transformative. While the emerging data indicates a reduction from 2.2 to 2.1, we continue to work to ensure that racial disproportionalities continue to be addressed. Extensive training and implementation of the Principal's Analysis of Incident Report, which emphasizes procedural fairness, trauma-informed investigations, including mitigating and other factors, and consultations with parents and superintendents prior to arriving at a decision, are in place. Through the work of Safe and Caring Schools, Equity, Special Education, and Social Emotional Learning departments, along with the work in schools, education, and training to various employee groups around progressive supports, has helped us to be proactive, preventative, and to exercise discretion and be aware of bias when characterizing behaviors. Collectively, we all share responsibility in challenging these disproportionalities through proactive supports and building engaging, identity-affirming, and culturally responsive learning environments. We remain steadfast in our duty to collect data and commit to taking a multifaceted approach that addresses the disproportionate impacts on African, Black, and Afro-Caribbean and Indigenous students as indicated by the suspension data. To this end, schools can strive to co-create identity-affirming, culturally learning, responsive environments that are built on the foundations of equity and inclusion. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Stubbins. I'm going to ask Trustee Pramanali and Trustee Cameron to put them on the floor for me. Okay, question. Go ahead now.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Superintendent Stubbings, for the further update on this information. I know we've had a lot of questions for you already, and we've appreciated the work that you've been doing, bringing updates back to us. So thank you so much. I see that you've brought us. Hold on, I'm just going to bring my document back up here, just so I have the numbers in front of me. Some updated numbers from December and from February, and I know that we see that there's a highlighted decline for our Black students from December to February. But when we look at these numbers in the context of the 6-year picture, and especially if we are removing any outlier years, I think we're seeing sort of a continued consistent trend in these numbers. And we do want to continue to see progress, but I don't know that at this point we're seeing that progress in this school year. And I'm wondering if you're seeing, I'm wondering what action we're taking to move in a further direction towards the outcome that we're looking for here. Because when we're looking at our Black students and our Indigenous students, removing the outlier years, these do look quite consistent to me, and I do find that concerning in light of the goal that we have here. Can you tell us more about where you're hoping, what you're hoping to? I don't know. I'm not sure how to ask this question. Actually, okay. I'm seeing consistent numbers and not necessarily the progress that we're looking for.
Go ahead, Superintendent Stubbin, if you.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Promoli, and through you, Chair Green. We continue to monitor this data very carefully. The Safe and Caring Schools Department, in collaboration with the Equity and Special Ed Department, we have put a lot of work into training, into professional learning for staff around culturally relevant and responsive classrooms, around progressive discipline, and all of those pieces. I think equally importantly is that as a senior team, we really are interrogating that data so that superintendents and principals know exactly who is being suspended and why, and really trying to address the perhaps the learning environment or the conditions that student is experiencing, and really putting in some strong transition plans post-suspension for every student. We don't want students to be suspended repeatedly. But in that, as we continue to look at the data and interrogate the data, we also collect feedback from schools, from superintendents to see, these are some of the pieces that we have done, but what do we need to do next to really address that data and be specific and targeted in our approaches.
Okay, and just one more question through you, Chair. Thank you. Are you able at this time to help us understand what you've learned about the factors involved in creating these disparities? I know that's a big question. I'm sorry. And during our committee work, we did talk about, putting some of these numbers into context so we can better see not just numbers, but really the stories that are happening, the situations that are happening here too. Why these disparities continue at this point, and how we can work towards resolving those.
Okay, go ahead, AD Agila.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Green. So I will just, to elaborate on the great points that Superintendent Stubbings has already provided. We know that this work goes back several years to our ministry review, and a lot of great work has taken place across the system in terms of building capacity with our administrators as well as with our teaching staff. So I'm going to answer this question with two different pieces. One is, we know that we have seen a new group of administrators move into positions, vice principal and principal positions, in the last 2 years. These are phenomenal leaders, and we continue to build their capacity, their knowledge and understanding of the role. And much of the work contained within our D21 directive is being implemented and actionized in our buildings now. But beyond that piece, what I want to stress is, as we work with our field superintendents, what we're starting to do now is to interrogate this data per FOS. So we can really understand in a meaningful way where the disparities lie. And once we can identify that, then we can go deeper to understand what is contributing to these disparities continuing to persist and exist. So with that, we have identified certain areas, pockets, if you will, within the board. And so we're starting some strategic work, both with field superintendents and with principals directly, where we're pulling them together in a large table format, if you will, to put the data on the table and to have honest, transparent conversations around what the data is telling us and what it is remedially we need to do beyond, I would say, D21 in ways that are fruitful, meaningful, and I would say that really get at the nuances of the data. So, when we come back for progress report number 4, we'll have a little bit more depth and detail to offer in terms of what that roundtable looks like and what the data is that is emerging from that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the way that you're approaching this. So thank you. And thank you for taking the time to explain the way that you're approaching it too.
For sure.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Associate Director, we're just going to take both together so you can move on to B.
So if there are no more questions?
Yes.
Okay, so
There's none.
the second report, please.
Okay, so thank you very much, Director Swaroop, and through you, Chair Green. This next report provides a detailed understanding of the Peel District School Board's measures to engage in a process of progressive discipline, which includes a whole school approach utilizing a continuum of prevention programs, interventions, supports, and consequences to address inappropriate student behavior, and to build upon strategies that promote and foster positive behaviors. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce Michelle Stubbings, Superintendent of Safe and Caring Schools, to present the report on progressive discipline.
Thank you, Associate Director Ajla, and through you, Chair Green. I would like to share a report that contains information pertaining to progressive discipline. The report really contains an overview of what progressive discipline entails. Progressive discipline, or more appropriately, progressive supports, is a whole school approach to ensure that schools are safe, inclusive, and culturally responsive learning. It involves the meaningful development of respectful and caring relationships between staff, between students, and between staff and students. We recognize that education systems have historically been built on the principles of control and compliance, and these principles appear in school systems across the globe. We acknowledge the role of power in schools and understand that systems of oppression impact each person differently, especially those with intersectional identities. Self-reflection, empathy, understanding multiple perspectives, and criticality are needed to work with and for students exhibiting challenging or stress behaviors. When we take this approach to student behavior, we move away from discipline and move towards inclusive schools and classrooms. All aspects of school life are included in a whole school approach, such as culturally relevant and responsive curriculum, school climate, teaching practices, policies, and procedures. Creating identity-affirming and welcoming school and class environments are a critical part of building positive relationships and a sense of safety for students. Building authentic relationships where students can bring their whole identity as a person and as a learner into the relationship and feel safe and respected is a critical part of anti-racist, anti-oppressive approaches to behavior. All behavior serves as a function. Often, challenging or stress behaviors indicate the presence of an unmet need. It is the responsibility of the adults in schools to determine how these needs can be met as we work collaboratively with parents and caregivers as partners to establish responsive learning environments. Understanding the functions of behavior will allow us to use holistic approaches instead of focusing only on consequence. Every school has a sense of belonging goal rooted in anti-racism, anti-colonial, and anti-oppressive principles. A sense of belonging is critical to ensuring safe and inclusive learning environments. How do educators make students feel that they belong, to feel welcomed and valued? Creating identity-affirming and welcoming school and class environments is a critical part of building positive relationships and a sense of safety for students. To be clear, in incidents of serious concerning behavior where progressive supports cannot be applied, a principal shall consider a suspension or recommendation for expulsion based on explicit expectations outlined in the Education Act, Sections 306 and 310. Data need not always be quantitative for it to be meaningful. The report contains a number of potential areas where data could be collected to monitor the success of proactive supports that schools have in place. Monitoring qualitative and quantitative data informs the school's next steps to ensuring safe, inclusive spaces for learning and for working. The supports provided by the Safe and Caring Schools Department, the Equity and Special Education Social Emotional Learning Departments, combined with the dedication and continued care of administrators, teachers, EAs, and other support staff, seek to support and nurture meaningful relationships with students and their families to create safe and inclusive spaces for all learners. Our collective work to create identity-affirming learning environments that are conducive to learning and culturally responsive lead to a greater sense of belonging and ultimately to student safety. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Superintendent Stubbins. Question or concern from trustees? Trustee Brunelli.
I'm the chatty one tonight, I guess. Okay. Thank you again, Superintendent Stubbings. And again, I really do appreciate the great work that you're doing here and bringing so much information back to us. I was wondering, has there been any ongoing consultation with educators and administrators about how progressive discipline is working in their schools, just to get a feel for how they've been dealing with it in the shift from previous practices?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Promoli, and through you, Chair Green. Yes, we've got quite a bit of data from a variety of schools, from a variety of sources. Some of the things that we're looking at, of course, we've got some specific strategies that vary throughout the schools. We are sharing best practices, but we're also looking to see, do we have fewer office referrals? Are there fewer calls to the office for support? Is mental health language being used by students? Are they saying, I need a break, or can I speak to my guidance counselor, or I need help dealing with a particular conflict with a student? Staff are actively looking for support and capacity building through the Safe and Caring Schools resource teachers to embed culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy in their classrooms, how to connect community circles. I'm hearing that many students are being given a lot more leadership opportunities in the school, opportunities to lead assemblies, and culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy is critical. We are building capacity of teachers to build on those lessons and really take the lens of Black excellence over deficit mindsets. More texts are being used, and the content really does reflect the Black experience, positive Black experiences. So it's a whole bunch of data that we collect to see if our work around progressive discipline is being effective, and I'm hearing very positive results.
That's great. Thank you so much, Superintendent Stubbings. And just one more question through you, Chair. We have seen, and this was through the report in January, an increase in suspensions, expulsions, and challenges coming back year over year. I was wondering if, given that information that we received from operations, are there any planned changes to help address those specific issues that we're seeing?
Thank you again for the question. And through you, Chair Green, it's really important that we support teachers to build those identity affirming classrooms, to really build their capacity to understand and teach, about consent culture and what healthy relationships look like, and boundaries, and how to solve conflicts, and how to engage in effective problem solving and conflict resolution. What I'm seeing from my perspective is that staff really are examining their teaching practice in a critical way and really striving to provide trauma-informed, culturally relevant teaching strategies. We're seeing changes in terms of contact staff and ISSP staff engaging with students in the classroom more and building relationships. So there are so many strategies that we can use, that we can discuss as a senior team and really share those best practices to ensure that, every student in every class, really does feel valued and welcomed and safe. And the more students are engaged in their classroom and their learning, the less so are they engaged in behavior that we just don't want to see.
Okay. Thank you so much, Superintendent. And again, I really appreciate all the great work and all the time that you spend bringing this information to us. And I look forward to the fourth report. Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Bailey.
Through you, Chair. I'm sitting here in the role of a trustee, and I read the report and I hear everything that you say, Superintendent Stubbins, and I want to say I'm so happy to hear what you're doing and all of that. But then I go home and I'm the parent of a Black boy within the Peel District School Board, and then I hear it from a different lens. So for me, I'm wearing two hats. Yes, one thing is it's encouraging to hear that it takes time and there's a little bit of movement. But as a parent, I'm not gonna lie, this report, and every time I see a report like this, it is very disheartening. And I'm speaking as a parent, from a parent of a Black boy. And I don't know where we go and what to do and what to say to all the other Black parents that are coming to me and saying the same experience that they're having within the Peel District School Board. And I know you know I'm not being disrespectful or anything like that or speaking negative. I'm talking about the real experience, the lived experience of our children. I'm not gonna lie. I look forward to my child graduating because then I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not nervous about, okay, this is a day that I'm gonna get a call that he's being suspended. We had a conversation last night where my child is telling me, oh, I'm being told I can't say this to a teacher or I'm at risk of being suspended. My words to him was, okay, let's walk through that. And we have to go through everything. Not every child has that parent that can do that, right? And this is where I'm very upset and still not happy with the level of care that our children are facing. So I'm not looking for an answer, but I'm telling you where I stand as a parent of a Black boy. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I'm going to take the time to just thank you for your comments, Trustee Bailey. Appreciate that. And Superintendent Stubbins, I thank you for presenting the report. Do I have any other questions? Thank you very much for the report this afternoon that you present. I know staff is doing the best that they can, and we all hope for some progress down the road, but we know this is tough work. It's hard work, but at the same time, we gotta continue. We can't give up, and we can't let up, so we will continue together as a team. So thank you for the report. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. I'm going to move down to item 15.2, and I'm going to turn it over to Director Suru at this time to introduce our Associate Director.
And through you, Chair Green, I will now ask our Chief Operating Officer and Associate Director, Jaspal Gill, to bring the progress report on the employment system review implementation.
Thank you, Director Suru, and through you, Chair Green. In June 2020, the board hired Turner Consulting to conduct an employment system review for the board. After extensive consultations with various stakeholders, data collection, and assessment, the final report was presented to the board in June 2023. The report included 108 recommendations. This report, the one in front of you, provides an update on the progress of implementation of these recommendations. I'm going to now ask Musuma Kungura, Executive Officer, Human Resources, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Associate Director Gill. Through you, Chair Green and Director Suru. I present a progress report update and key highlights of the Employment Systems Review, the ESR Implementation Work Plan, as we present the transformative journey undertaken through this review. The final report, comprising 108 recommendations, was presented in June of 2023 with a focus on enhancing equity and inclusion in employment practices, particularly for Black, Indigenous, and equity-deserving groups. Our collective endeavor has been to scrutinize and enhance our employment practices, ensuring that they align with our commitment to equity. The ESR recommendations are not merely a checklist, but a roadmap to dismantling systemic barriers and cultivate an environment where diversity is not just welcomed, but celebrated. The report highlights the extensive work done with recommendations aimed at improving employment practices. The focus is on dismantling barriers and fostering inclusion, specifically for historically marginalized groups. A 3-year implementation plan has been developed, guided by effective project management principles and overseen by 2 committees to ensure sustainable and equitable employment outcomes. The plan includes strategies for diversifying the employee pool to better reflect the student community. Our review process, spanning from June to September of 2023, was marked by a collaborative spirit with key department stakeholders in leadership and capacity building, equity, the workplace equity team, human resources, coming together to forge a 3-year implementation plan grounded in the principles of effective project management. The implementation plan prioritizes recommendations based on policy and procedure updates, transparency enhancements, and minor changes with significant impacts. The first year aims to address 25 recommendations, focusing on crucial policy revisions, communication improvements, and minor operational adjustments. For the subsequent years, attention will shift towards recommendations requiring extensive research and stakeholder engagement. Comprehensive consultations were conducted at the beginning of the academic year to ensure feasibility of the implementation plan at the department level. 2 committees overseeing the ESR recommendations are the Core HR Committee, focusing on HR-related recommendations, and the ESR Advisory Committee, comprising leaders from various PDSB departments. The establishment of 2 committees representing diverse internal departments exemplifies a structured approach to accountability and consultation. Their guidance is instrumental in translating recommendations to sustainable operational changes. Principles of project management guide the planning and execution of recommendations, including clear objectives, defined roles, effective communication, risk management, stakeholder involvement, project closure, and finally, continuous improvement. As we move forward, transparency and accountability will be maintained through an internal website tracker for ESR-related project with plans to provide access to all PDSB employees by the first annual milestone. As we move forward, these changes will manifest in the incremental hiring of a diverse pool of employees reflecting our student body's rich tapestry and driving us towards the future where every member of our community has the opportunity to thrive. Overall, the board remains committed to completing the project plan as scheduled, fostering equity and inclusion within PDSB's employment practices. Attached to the report, please find a visual representation of the high-level overview of the project implementation plan. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Trustee B. McDonald and Trustee Davies putting them on the floor. And I'm going to turn to Trustee B. McDonald for question.
Thank you, Chair. So this employment system review, which we received last year, did, as you clearly stated, highlighted 107 recommendations, a lot of challenges and gaps. And it was a lot of feedback for staff. And I would challenge your comment that it was just an equity and inclusion review. It was a complete overhaul of the employment system we have. And there was many, the 107 recommendations that had nothing to do with that, just the way we operated, that, comments that we, nepotism, et cetera. So I think we need to be careful how we classify this employment system review. It's a whole system review. It wasn't just focused on one topic of it. So I'll have 107. I'll have a few questions, if you beg my forgiveness, Chair. The first one, will we have a report at the end of this 2 or 3 year that you've completed all the 107 recommendations?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for that question. We can provide an annual update on the progress report of all the 108, and we hope it is our hope to maintain the project plan as developed to really sustain that change and concluding with a final report.
Good, thank you. I think that's important. If we're going to have 107, we should know if they've been completed. But I think the other thing is I see a great plan of doing these things, but how do we measure its success? How do we measure all these things, committees and processes and reviews are successful? You're going off and doing all this work. How do I get a report? And I'm not asking for an answer today, but I think I'm just highlighting in future reports that I need to know that the work you're doing actually is working and not, making things worse or just keeping status quo, because 107 recommendations, really highlighted a systemic problem that needed to be addressed, which you're addressing, and I appreciate the great plan you have. I just would like to, from a governance perspective, know that we're improving things. Thank you.
Trustee K. McDonald online.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So I also just wanted to flag too that the report also deals with staff having serious issues with accommodations. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that is going to be addressed, as well as the report. We as a board, we had passed a motion on targeted hiring for Black and Indigenous educators. And again, I just want to flag that this has not occurred, and this is a directive that was issued to the board to implement. So I hope that, I was hoping to see something mentioned actually in the report, but I'm looking forward to seeing that at the next report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Cameron.
Thank you. Thank you, and through you, Chair. This comment really is a reflection of every single school that I have been in probably the last 6 weeks, from comments from teachers, vice principals, and principals who, and it's very consistent, and it's too often to not be a concern. And I understand with this model that you're looking at and the review that you're doing, this is not specific to here, but it is a problem in HR. Where are the EAs? We do not have enough help for our schools. One of my high schools has 236 students with IEPs, and it has 2 EAs. It's a fundamental flaw in serving our children, who are students who need help, and we're not providing it. And if you can answer it from within this model, will it do something to help us? So that's the first question. Will this do something to help us with our EA numbers, and when will that occur? I was in a school this morning and just had a meeting with the principal before I had a tour, and it was like seconds after we sat down. She said, "Stan, we're in trouble. We really need some help. We don't have enough EAs. We have a lot of children who need some help." So that's really the first and only question. Are we going to get some help through this model, and when? That's a two-parter.
Okay, I'm going to turn that question over to Associate Director Gill.
Yeah. So thank you, through you, Chair Green. And so Trustee Cameron, based on the system needs for the years, we do also hear from schools as well as our special education department. We work with them on the data. So after that, the board approved the last year's budget. We have added 120 more EAs to meet the needs of the system. And we will continue to, that's in addition to what board has approved as part of this year's budget. Again, to meet the system needs. We will continue to work with our SPEC staff to see where the needs are. But I think the challenge with EAs is not, I don't want to look like it's only the EAs, but even with other groups as well, is the absenteeism. Is since COVID is much higher, and that is reflected in the number of EAs you see sometimes on a daily basis in our schools, and so that's also a challenge with some other employee groups as well, but also more in that group as well. But as far as overall meeting the needs of our systems, when we look at the needs and as far as our EAs. The allocation of EAs, we continue to work with our SPEC department. As I mentioned, we have added 120 more EAs, 2 more this year, in addition to what was approved in the budget.
Through you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the response, Associate Director Gill. Of course, that's relative to how many more students came into our system with special needs. Yes, we may have 120 more, but EAs, but how many more children came to us with some pretty serious needs? I would just ask trustees if we could all keep this moment in mind when we talk about budget, because if the system needs more money to hire more EAs, I'm suggesting that would be a priority. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Trustee Alves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Trustee Cameron's comments triggered a thought in my mind as he mentioned budget, and as we heard from Associate Director Jespal Gill's comment about the elevated absences. Do we know what the cost implication is to the board, how much the absences cost the board? Just trying to wonder from the budgetary perspective what we might be looking like if we wanted to maybe address that next budget cycle, what that cost would be.
So that's a loaded question to hit the staff with on the spot. So why don't I do this and say, as we move forward into a budgeting period, that Associate Director Gill, that's something you can look towards and bringing us a report around that, because I think that would be great to actually know that number. So thank you for that question, Trustee Alves.
Thank you very much. That works. I had imagined it wouldn't be an awfully tough number, but I look forward to getting that number. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm seeing none. It's already on the floor. So all those in favor of receiving this report? Carries. Thank you. And thank you again to Associate Director Gill and staff for presenting our report. Great. Okay. We're going to move down to item 6, which is communication. And this letter is for receipt. As you remember, you have given the director and I a task to do, and it is done. The letter is just here to receive this letter. So who would put this motion on the table? Trustee Cameron and Trustee Alves. All those in favor? Sure, you can.
I just want to thank you for the letter, Director and Chair, and I just want to highlight to all those people who might not see it in front of them that the Peel School Board is being funded on numbers based in 2006, almost 20 years ago when Chair Green and I started. And I'll tell you, the board's changed in those 18, 20 years, and to be funded on that just highlights I want to use the word stupidity, but I won't, of the funding process. And we need our fair share. And that goes directly to Chair Cameron's and Chair Alves' comments earlier that we have in the budget. We are having to take money away from other programs to fund things, and we therefore don't have money to fund things. And EAs is one of them. And I'm really disheartened that we have to make really tough decisions without the proper funding from the government, while other boards get the luxury of better funding model that their boards may have not changed in those 20 years. Like, our growth has exploded. I can't tell you how many schools we built in 20 years, but it's probably getting close to the size of some school boards. So I'd like to really challenge the provincial government to really show us the money because we deserve it for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald, for that. Any other questions, concerns? Trustee Cameron.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'd like to echo Trustee McDonald's comments, but I'd also like to say this is Fix the Formula 2.0. Right? We've been through this once before, many years ago. It became more than just a table fight, though. From here, it became a public story, and the numbers do not lie. We're not fudging the numbers here. We have them. It's accurate, and we're behind. And I have talked to Associate Director Gill about this many times because of my concerns about the EAs. That amount of money has stayed stable while the number of children who have come to us with special needs has increased. Superintendent Scucato, I don't know how you do it, but I know you have children with special needs in mind all the time about how to help them, but we need to help you with more money. So I'm going to suggest, through you, Chair, that, and thank you both, Chair Green and Director Swarb, for taking this step. But at some point, if we don't get a response, if we get a response that isn't particularly favorable, then we might ought to strategize around where do we go next. And right, not now, but when, let's give them, the government, they've only got to have this letter a couple of days. Let us give them an opportunity to respond. And then let us put our heads together as a group around what will this Fix the Formula 2.0 look like in the public forum. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other question, comments? See none. And just so trustee know that this is not just going to the ministry, we are sending it into the Ontario School Board Association. So the Ontario School Board Association, as a practice, once letter comes from board, it goes to all the boards, the public boards across the province, for them also to push that forward. And this will be in the next directors meeting, also discussion for this one. Okay, so there's great opportunity to basically amplify this right across the province with our counterparts. So thank you for that. It's already on the floor. All those in favor, receive. Thank you. Carries. So I'm going to go to 17, trustee motion for consideration. I got none. Trustee notice of motion. I got none. I'm going to move adoption of the in-camera report. Trustee Johal, trustee Bailey. Okay. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And then I'm going to jump right down to our staff and student success story. And we're going to watch our videos as usual.
The week of March 18th, organizations across the world came together in support of Neurodiversity Celebration Week. At Peel District School Board, we were proud to champion the many unique talents, perspectives, and abilities of neurodivergent students and staff through a full schedule of programming and events. From guest speakers to an entrepreneurship, student fair, and the most fun silent dance party for students and their families. We were also happy to have Aiden Lee join us once again in working with 21 autistic students in grades 5 to 12 on a vivid art exhibit that is now displayed at the Central Board office. Aiden is an abstract painter who channels his multiple diagnoses, autism, ADHD, and anxiety, into this extraordinarily creative outlet, inspiring many other students on their own journeys.
So as a parent, a week of celebration like this means everything for my kids because it really gives them a sense of community and enjoyment and pride. And it's just nice to see that they identify with other autistic kids and other kids with disabilities at this type of event.
So he enjoyed every moment from, using the different media and seeing into the worlds of other children.
This is great experience. This is the first time I'm also seeing my son exploring so much art and creativity.
By helping people understand what neurodiversity is and celebrating the power in different ways of thinking, we are building stronger and more supportive school communities.
really mesmerized all of us, and we were really impressed, and we were really proud of you all, and I really hope to see what you guys do in the future. So thank you to all of you.
A team from Fallingbrook Middle School beat out more than 400 grade 4 to 8 students from across the province to capture the 2024 First LEGO League's Ontario West Provincial Championship held at Durham College. The tournament saw students put their programming skills to the ultimate test, applying math and science concepts to design, build, and program autonomous robots using LEGO Spike software. The winning team, called the Stampsations, will be moving on to the European Open Championship this May in Buda, Norway, where they'll compete with the best teams from around the world while shining a spotlight on STEAM education in PDSB. Peel students are on a winning streak at robotics competitions. This month, 2 teams from Rick Hansen Secondary School competed against more than 600 high school students from across the province to be crowned champions at the 2024 First Robotics Durham College District Competition. The teams, Theory 6 and The Biggest Birds, proudly represented Rick Hansen, with Theory 6 having also received first highest honor, the First Impact Award. Students were challenged by this year's competition theme, Crescendo, which encouraged teams to raise funds, hone teamwork skills, and advance awareness and appreciation for STEM education within the local community. Mayfield Secondary School alumnus Zoe Williams has become the first Black woman to fly a Boeing 777 for Air Canada. Inspired by her father, who was himself a captain at Air Canada, Zoe began her flight training in 2012, eventually moving on to flying commercially in 2017. In 2020, she was named one of the top 20 under 40 by Wings magazine. In an accompanying article, Zoe was quoted as saying, "I often meet young girls who have said, I did not know that being pilot was an option. Representation is important, and we need to encourage young women and minority groups. Aviation is an option, and a great one too." Keep your eyes out for more on Zoe, as PDSB will be shining a spotlight on her story in an upcoming feature on sharethesmile.ca.
Thank you. These are amazing, amazing achievement by our student. These are the stuff that I want to see on the website. I want to see on the front page of the newspaper and in the Oxford News and everything like that. So when we have these things, please get them to Michelle or get them to me. We will get it out there, because oftentimes we see the negative when one incident happened, but we don't see the success and the positive things. So let's keep shining. Director, thank you. And the staff that make these things happen every day in our school. And thank you to each and everyone tonight. And again, we appreciate the work that you're doing and continue. I said this to someone the other day, the ship has left the harbor and there's no turning back. Thank you. Have a good night. Adjournment, Trustee Cole, Trustee Davey, all those in favor? Carries. Have a good night. Thank you.